Hi guys. All right, so I want to talk to you guys about Acacia Kersey. Acacia Kersey came out and has made a statement about her child that she left unsupervised, and then the child climbed on top of her vehicle in the park. Someone filmed it, eventually posted it, and the internet has given their opinions about it. And she has decided to post a statement on TikTok. I took Cliff's notes, and I'm going to deliver it to you guys. You tell me how you feel about her statement, and we'll have a conversation about it. Before we get into this, I would like to say that DV is never okay on either side of the coin. And at the same time, using things like DV, mental health, stress, financial problems, being called out by people online, none of those things are an excuse to not take accountability either. And I'm not saying that you have to immediately take accountability and this is what I expect and that's the only thing that can happen here. I'm not saying that, but I don't appreciate when people say, oh, well, I'm being called out, so let me tell everybody that I lost my job and that's why I left my kid unattended, or let me tell everybody how awful my life has been and that's why I'm being a neglectful parent. I just don't like when sensitive things that are not okay, and people don't deserve these things at all under any circumstances. I also don't like when they're used as an excuse when the influencer wants to have something to give to people, like it's a justification for bad behavior. So you guessed it, I am going to be reading, I'll be looking down a lot, and hopefully that's good with you guys. So she posted this statement in 3 parts on her TikTok, which I will actually link her TikTok down below in case you guys want to go read the comments over there, or if you're just interested, it'll make it easier to find. She started out by saying, I don't have much time, my life is in a transition mode. I have been on the internet for a very long time, and I know the internet likes to take videos like that, referring to the park video, and play a game of telephone and add things to it, take stuff away, or fabricate stuff as the story is told. I realize that the internet can be a very, very toxic place to exist because I've seen the bad side of the internet. I've also seen the good side of it. But to automatically say that people on a consistent basis are simply just lying and fabricating stuff when your accountability is being called for is a really cheap way to kind of start this video out, because it's almost like she's trying to plant a seed of, well, that video was taken out of context and don't believe everything that people are saying, don't believe everything you're seeing. My hair, what is going on with that? My hair always gets like stuck on the back of my earring here and it'll stick out sometimes. So yeah, like I get it. The internet can fabricate stuff, but at the same time, if a video is being shared and she's taken her time to come out to give context to it, people are allowed to react to what they're seeing in front of them. Simply put, this person was not recording this situation because it's Acacia Kersey. This person was recording the situation because they saw a child, actually children unattended, and a child climbing on top of a vehicle with no parent present. That's why they were recording. This could have literally been any Sally Joe off the street, and that person at the park would have still been recording this, because that's just not something that, as a witness, you just sit there and see this unfolding and you don't try to document it and step in and assist. She continued by saying things like, I had left them alone for an extended period of time. I was taking photos, taking selfies, playing video games. People had to come get me to help me get the child off the car. We're going to revisit the taking photos and the video games part when I'm done with her statement. She continued by saying, I had mentioned on my IG that I have been dealing with domestic abuse and DV for several years now. Since my separation, it's gotten worse week by week. The week that video was taken was during the worst weeks of my life in terms of DV. I also realize this is a very tough topic for people to talk about publicly. You know, even if you're used to sharing parts of your life with the internet, it can't be easy sharing these types of details with your audience. I did find it a little interesting the way that her video was edited. She wanted to make sure everyone knew that she was crying, but then she would also cut parts of the video out. It was, you know, I felt for her. Like, I'm a human being. When I see somebody else crying, it upsets me, even if I don't know the person. But I did feel like the cuts were very strategic, and the things that she was saying right before the cuts were also very strategic. She continued and said, I had been asking for help from people close to me. I didn't think I would cry about this. I had asked for help from people over and over. Nobody was helping. I was doing it all alone. I was in an unsafe place, and nobody was listening. In that video, I stepped away to have a little cry at the edge of the tree line where I could see all 3 of my kids. I noticed Callie going to the car, and that's when I started walking back. I knew I needed to step away because I've cried so many times in front of my children. I didn't want to cry in front of the park, like the people at the park. I removed Callie from the car and sat back down in the blanket. Nobody was not being watched. I wasn't taking selfies or anything like that. It was a really hard week. I was trying to do everything without the help that I was asking for. Since that video, I have been working with a social worker. She has been the most supportive person in my life recently. I am doing so much better. And then she also talks about how she's been much more present over the last 4 weeks. She's been setting up boundaries, so on and so forth.
Hi everyone. I'm not entirely sure where to start with this video, but I thought that I would come and talk a little bit. I don't have too much time. My life is quite in the transition mode at the current state. But there was a video that went around that someone took of me and my kiddos at the park where my youngest was climbing on top of a car. And I've been on the internet an extremely long time, where I know that the internet loves to take stuff like that and then also play the game of telephone and add more to it, take stuff away, ignore certain parts of it, or just fabricate more and more as the story gets told. Things like I had left them completely unattended for an extended period of time, taking photos, taking selfies, playing video games. People had to come retrieve me from the forest to help my son down from the car. Just all of these like extra fabrications that weren't true. So I'd like to just come on and just shed some light on what actually occurred, which is another reason why hold on. I had mentioned on my Instagram that I've been dealing with domestic abuse and domestic violence for several years now, but since my separation, it has gotten progressively worse week by week. That week, specifically when the video was filmed, was probably one of the worst weeks of my life in terms of domestic violence. That was one of the worst weeks of my life, and I had been continuing to ask for help from people close to me. I'm sorry, hold on. I did think that I'd cry about this. I've had to talk about this situation so many times recently. I had asked for help from people in my life over and over, and nobody was helping. I was doing it all alone, and I had said that so many times that I was in an unsafe environment, and nobody was listening. So in that video, I had stepped away, had a little cry at the edge of the tree line where I could see all 3 of my children, and then I noticed Callie started going for the car, and that's when I started walking back. Again, I could not hold it together in that moment anymore. I knew that I needed to step away because I have cried in front of my children so often recently that I've started to pull back from doing that. And so I stepped away because I could not hold it together anymore, and I was not going to cry in front of the whole park, nor in front of my kids. So I stepped to the tree line where I knew that I could have a second, but also keep an eye on everybody. Once I saw Callie was on the car, I started walking back. Brinley also noticed and came to me at the same exact time. I was already on my way. I removed Callie from the car immediately and sat back down on the blanket. Nobody was not being watched. I was not gallivanting around a forest, taking selfies or anything like that. It was just it was just a really hard week. And I was doing everything that I could without the help that I so desperately was asking for. But since that video I think is like 4 weeks old. I mean, it just got posted, but since that video, I knew that I could not rely on the people close to me anymore. And so I have been working with, hold on, let me just, that video, sorry, my brain is not working. Since that video, which is about 4 weeks old, I knew I could no longer rely on the people close to me. And so I have reached out for help through other avenues. I am working closely with a social worker who has, I do not want to be crying on the internet. Jesus fucking Christ. The social worker, the DHS worker, Department of Human Services, if you don't know what DHS is, it's basically like CPS, but I've been working very closely with her to get help. And she has been the most supportive person in my life recently and has changed my life with help with support groups and getting set up with a navigator, which if you don't know what a navigator is, they are basically a patient navigator. You can Google that and figure out more about them, but they basically just help you figure shit out. I have removed myself and I'm now more in a safe environment because of her, and I'm doing so much better, even though it's so much harder. Since that video have become, well, not since that video, but like since that time of my life, 4 weeks ago or 5, however long ago it was, honestly time is an illusion to me at this point. I have become so much more present. I have been getting so much more help. I have been not afraid to ask and reach out to people. I have set so many new boundaries that have kept me so much safer. And yeah, I'm really proud of myself, even though it, had gotten to a point that I feel like I shouldn't have let it get it to. I just know that I will never put myself in a position like that again, or my babies. So, yeah, that's all. I have a lot going on right now, like I mentioned. I have a lot of things I want to cross off my list before I keep creating, but creating is something that brings me joy and has always brought me joy, and so I have no plans on letting anybody tell me where I can and can't be. And the internet is a place for everybody, and it is a place for me, and so I will continue to be here. And I feel good about that decision, so.
I'm really glad that she is working with a social worker and evidently getting the help that she needs. But I want to focus on her not being truthful in this video. This was an opportunity to come forth, be honest, be real with your audience, take accountability, and move on. The reason that I said we're going to revisit the video game piece is because Acacia, on the same day that video was filmed, which was July 9th, she also shared on her Instagram stories that she went into the woods and was playing on her Nintendo Switch. So she wasn't at the tree line watching her children. She was in the woods playing her Nintendo Switch, taking photos of the Switch to post on social media. Now she can say, oh, well, those photos weren't taken at the park, blah, 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 blah. So are you trying to tell me that then later that day or earlier that day you did have a sitter for your kids and then you went into the woods to take the photos with the Switch? Because if it was taken before or after the park incident, then that tells me that somebody else was with your kids and you decided to wander into the woods for a second time on the same day. The thing that I'll say about the DV situation is a lot of people have an issue with her mentioning it now because it does seem like it's trying to shift attention from her being a neglectful parent in that moment to kind of using that as a shield as to this is why I was being neglectful, and knowing that's going to hit home for a lot of people who have been or are currently in those types of awful, awful situations that I would never wish on anybody. So my final thoughts on Acacia are, I hope that she continues to get the help that she needs. It is absolutely awful if she is going through the worst time in her life, as she explained it. That's heartbreaking. But in my opinion, what it sounds like is this might be a good time to step away from social media and really focus on your kids and focus on taking care of your mental health, using the people that are now currently around you to help guide you through this chapter of your life so that you can still be physically and mentally present for your children who are also experiencing a divorce, a breakup, a separation of home, having two different places that they now call home. I just think the whole idea of going through a public breakup or a public divorce, I've talked about this with Jessica Kent, when you're going through that publicly, I think that there's so much that ends up being shared on social media that should not be shared on social media, out of the protection and privacy of the kids that are also going through all of these crazy emotions. Now, real quick, since I have a few extra minutes here, I want to talk about Rachel Ballinger's girlfriend making a statement on her Instagram stories. I'll read the statement and then I'll give you guys my thoughts. She said, and her girlfriend's name is Abby. Abby said, just a gentle reminder that even though you don't see something posted on the internet doesn't mean it's not happening. Remember that we are all humans living our lives. We exist outside of what we post online. Some things are saved to be lived through and experienced, not documented publicly. Abby girl, you should have just been quiet. This was not it. This was a really bad thing to post in the middle of Colleen Ballinger being exposed as an awful individual, and the conversation around her family members also being awful on their own and awful alongside Colleen. Now maybe Abby is alluding to Rachel confronting Colleen about everything that's happening, and maybe there's conversations being had. In my opinion, even if she's trying to suggest that's maybe what's happening, I do not ever think that Rachel Ballinger would confront Colleen. I just don't think that she would personally. I don't think that that's even in the realm of possibilities. I think that she was just simply trying to put out a statement to make it sound like, oh, there are things happening behind the scenes. Now, as far as her last statement about some things are saved to be lived through and experienced, not documented publicly, how rich coming from somebody who is trying to defend and is dating a family member of literally people who have put their entire existence on the internet. Colleen, her brother, her best friend, her wedding, her day-to-day, all of the kids, all of the cousins, all the birthdays, all of the everything has been documented publicly. So now, let me get this right. So now that Colleen has been exposed and everyone is having an open conversation about it, Rachel Ballinger's girlfriend wants to come out and say, oh, well, you guys don't know. Like, some things are just meant to be cherished and not made into content. That is extremely rich coming from somebody when we're talking about the Ballinger family. So you can try that, oh, we live in the moment, no devices, no cell phones, this isn't content. You can live by those words if you want to, but everybody sees how hypocritical it is. And people over on Reddit were also having a conversation about it. Like, yeah, swing and a miss. That makes her look extremely dumb. And yeah, we're still going to talk about Colleen. We are still going to talk about Colleen, Corey, Joshua DTV. We're going to talk about Chris and Trent and Jessica and all of the bad things that these people have done, including her girlfriend, Rachel. So those are my thoughts. Tell me how you feel about that. Tell me how you feel about Acacia and her statements. Obviously, I will play the videos so that you get the full context instead of just the cliff notes. But that's going to be it for now. So if you like the video, please leave a like and a comment. And if you'd like to see more from me in the future, please subscribe. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.